So today I'll be talking about the flat face trigger here and what I had to do, the modifications that I had to make in order to get it to work with this gun. So as I'm sure you've already watched all the Apex videos on how to install the trigger and all that stuff. So if you don't know anything about this stuff like I didn't when I first started, basically you've got your firing pin, the safety plunger, with the trigger bar loop, or the trigger bar itself here, with the trigger bar loop, which is the only thing you can really adjust, and then this is, for lack of a better term, the safety plunger depressor. So basically how it works is when you rack the slide, this firing pin gets pulled to the back and it latches on to the sear, and then as you pull the trigger and the trigger bar loop moves the sear up, it drops the backside, which is the ledge that holds the firing pin, and lets it strike forward. So at the same time, this little bump here, the safety plunger depressor, will push on this, which allows the firing pin to move forward. It can't move forward without, you can't push it forward unless you depress the plunger. So that being said, those two have to function at the same time. You have to time it to where the loop and the plunger depressor hit at the same time. And that's the problem that I had, was that basically with this kit, the depressor wasn't fully moving back. So you can see here, as I pull it back, there's a bit of a gap. And on the stock version, the OEM trigger, there was no gap. It went all the way to the back and nearly touched. It almost touched the end there. And so basically what I had to do to get this to move fully back was to shave off the back of the trigger. So you can see here that it's kind of flat there. I'll show you a picture of what it looks like. So I shaved off the back of the trigger, so now it comes all the way back and can touch the back of the frame here, and that gave me the travel, because otherwise it stopped about right there with the trigger on it, or with the stock little nub on the back of the trigger. It stopped about right there. So basically what that meant is that with the Apex trigger kit, you get this rounded plunger, and so that's supposed to make it for a smoother action. When you pull the trigger, it's supposed to be smooth because it's not flat like the stock one here. You can see it's more flat, so it's only got a bit of a bevel on it. So as this little edge here pushes on the safety plunger, that will release the firing pin. And so since mine was not coming all the way back, it would not reach the safety plunger, and so therefore it wouldn't allow the firing pin to fully fire. Alright guys, so I hope that helped you, and there are two tricks that you can do to see if it's working properly. If you look through the back of your gun here, you see two sections that have gaps in them, so you can see through, or you can just remove that the back plate there. Let me see if I can point to it for you. Alright, so you've got this back plate. You can see the safety plunger down in there, and then you can see the sear through this gap here. If you remove this piece, you can kind of play with it and figure it out a little easier. But I mean, just keeping that on, you can determine whether your timing is correct, because you can see the sear and the safety plunger when they're activated. So if they activate at the same time, then you know that it works. One of the ways you can figure out if it works before going to the range is that if your firing pin hits this pin. So you load that in the end of your barrel. If your firing pin smacks it pretty hard, you know it worked.